just like a perky A right now. B cups, be gone. This show has gone off the rails. We promised the audience we'd take 2 questions. The first one is for Friedberg, and the first question comes from Daniel Nealis. He says, AlphaFold made great progress in predictive protein folding. Is there anything similar for chemical synthesis? Could a similar system finally predict a less energy-intensive pathway to ammonia than the Haber-Bosch process, for example? I don't speak French.
This is a great question. When molecules interact, a molecule is a bunch of atoms stuck together, and there are electrons and protons that make up that molecule, and therefore there's this kind of variable electric potential, energy potential that surrounds that molecule. And it's very difficult today to deterministically model how 2 molecules might interact with one another in physics. And it turns out that resolves using quantum physics. And so today we can't really kind of put 2 molecules together and say, here's what happens when you put these together, and have a computer program very quickly and easily solve that. Quantum physics is involved, and we don't have a good way to simulate quantum physics in binary computers. So one of the theories, and there's been some work on this on the research basis, creating the framework for it, is that we can use quantum computers to simulate the quantum states of molecules.
Wow.
And use that to figure out how molecules might interact with one another. And as a result, you could kind of see us creating simulations that resolve certain enzymes or proteins that might break apart molecules or stick molecules together, or other molecule combinations that might cause something to happen. The Haber-Bosch process, which is being referred to, was discovered through trial and error in the early 20th century by a German physicist, an engineer. And they realized that if they compressed atmospheric air to 200 times atmospheric pressure and ran it over an iron catalyst with electricity, it zapped. It broke apart the nitrogen bonds in the atmosphere, in the air that was compressed, and trickled out ammonia, which is nitrogen and hydrogen. And so this was like this amazing invention, and it saved the world and fed the world. There's a great book called The Alchemy of Air, if anyone's interested in hearing about this. But it was through trial and error, and we got so friggin' lucky as a species that we figured this out. Using quantum computing in the next 30 years, hopefully, we'll be able to deterministically model these behaviors on a molecular and atomic level, and as a result, kind of build new systems to make things. And that'll be an incredible kind of toolkit for humans that'll advance a lot of science and a lot of engineering forward. I'm still really strongly of the belief, and this goes back to your point earlier, I'm sorry I'm going on a bit of a rant.
No,
but
it's great.
In 100 to 120 years from now, I do think we'll all have a replicator in our room. And that replicator will make all the things we want to make nearly instantaneously with very low energy and very low cost.
Including an organ, a new brain,
an organ, some food, the next car you want to make. I mean, we could see, and by the way, this is a crazy concept. It's not just about, quantum stuff or whatever was described in Star Trek, but the general principle that you can locally make things and locally make things cheaply with very little energy and very little input changes the whole supply chain model. We're seeing this increasingly with new technologies, with 3D printing and biomanufacturing. You start to put these all together and you take a nonlinear track out in the next couple decades, and you get to a point that all this nonsense we're talking about, where we're mining stuff in one place and making it in another and shipping it, combining it all in another.
Sacks, you're going to be able to print a conscience. And it's going to be incredible.
I'm so glad.
Friedberg, you're going to be able to print an emotion.
Audience question. So glad.
Yeah. All right, here's a question for Sacks. Matt